3/4.
Yes.
And she got here. And all the house.
Okay.
But for instance, last couple of years,
It's just.
they're out in Spring Valley.
Okay.
So he's gonna figure out what to do.
Still working on her. Rolled it out there a couple times.
Yeah, that's it. Whole valley's full of what you could do, right?
That's it?
Whole valley's full of it.
Yeah.
I have 5 girls next to me.
Yeah. It's unfortunately like that throughout the
Time, there it is. Yeah, well, I got it. I want to come crank out something, share it, and we'll share it, all right? Been there 4 years, got nothing, no one does anything.
It's
And they know,
It's
you got to
deal
do it.
with. We know who it is.
Yeah. And nothing gets done.
We worked together, we sent code violations, video, things like that.
Two. That's your back.
I didn't feel that my application could sit so long. Not like the old days. Just show up.
Yeah.
Everything else.
So we'll see.
Well, I did my progress technician class, so it's after now. 4-year class, and it's that tomorrow's one class before that, so it's got a progress technician class. Smack me right in the pocket. Hey, you're wrong, what about me?
So that they can hear them.
Just gotta, oh, gotcha.
No, we just got to.
So do, lots of people participate that way?
You know, actually, last time we had Andy on here, helped out, we had a lot of people, well, not a lot.
No, that was
Talking about something.
It's a progress technician class. Then we need to report like that. That was on me.
Brendan, give me the real script of, I'm here to,
Now they can, task force.
how to answer questions that people have, and he mentioned something about clock, maybe.
Well, yeah, and that's probably, you and I can get on that. I mapped out, with the representative, and so really just wanted to correlate what I had, so you guys could say, you know, like, give me the okay or not, you know, because I know we can't jeopardize what you guys are working on.
So you need to tell me what you're working on, so I don't even know what you have
Just
going on.
looking at cameras and the same type of but of course, if you guys have something, and he said I can't tell you where they're at, but you could tell me and I could say, you might want to go somewhere else, or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then that way I can, you know, use mine.
Over on this side, everything we have is on state highway, on the whole North Shore. So, and as long as you're not on the state highway, you're not able to work at that.
Okay, because that's what I was looking at, so that means I can go on some choke points on the back road, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, and the state highway is challenging, you know, with Caltrans anytime, we're still going through the process. I'm just working on submitting it, so it's got to go to Sacramento to the headquarters for approval, and let's see how it works.
I was looking at more or less like, on county roads, like choke points.
So the bowling road over here, to cut up, so we have, that's, one of the areas that we're gonna have them set up, so.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just seeing like, you know, Pile Road, something back there.
Yeah, and that's a, you know, dumping area, and stuff like that, so. That would be a better area. Do you have a contact with them, or?
Yeah, and then she works with the contact that's helping with you all.
Who are you? Is it Aubrey or?
Yeah, her name is Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, she mentioned the guy's name.
John?
John.
Yeah, I was talking to John, I just called him up. This morning, was trying to get some information, I wasn't sure exactly.
Where's that?
We were really considering area.
Yeah, no doubt.
That would be,
We don't want to have anything else.
Oh,
That would be-
that's where I want to put money. We get a budget for it. And I'm getting. That's where I'm gonna put it.
So the only thing you'll have to this morning, depending on where you put it, public works, with the committee, so that's what we're putting We have 5 locations on county roads in the county, and so this requires an encroachment permit through the county. So there'll be county cameras. So is that what you're looking at doing?
And hopefully they can tie into your system as well.
Definitely can work that way for sure. So we can talk after the meeting or whatever if you want about that.
That'd be great.
And maybe some best options.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hello.
Haven't seen anyone try to come on here yet. There it is.
Not this town
All right. Guys, oh, there you go.
I got it set for, I think a couple people were going to call in.
So I'm not sure if they'll come, but the folks that own projects or are working on projects, so with dealing with cannabis, I encourage them, and I don't know if they'll come or not. I encourage them to come here and answer any. So if they show up, I don't know. If they do, they do. If they don't, then, you know.
Yeah.
But I always try to encourage everywhere, like even there's projects in Lucerne and Upper Lake, and I tell them, you will go to the town hall, because that's where a lot of people will be. You can answer their questions, you know.
Legal one.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. The ones that have projects in with the county, not the ones that are growing illegally. They're not going to come to this.
No. May not have got to go up to.
Oh, there we go.
Well, I want to see. You got Zoom up and running?
Yes, I'm letting Donna in right now.
Okay. And then Betsy was gonna.
Donna? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Okay, hello.
I'll be able to hear someone.
Hi there.
There we go.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. We have Jim, myself, and Tony here. Yep.
Recording in progress.
Powerful wires are down, no sparking or arcing. Acknowledge hazard, response.
Did you ever heard what she said?
That was her calling. She's gonna call me back.
Oh.
You might be running the meeting.
Huh?
You might be running the meeting. She's gonna call me back.
She's here right now, she's probably dragging it.
Hello.
Enjoying the weather. This is nice and warm out. All right, we're missing one of our board members, so we'll get started anyway, it's 4:00. Roll call, Vernon's here, Denise might be on her way. Tony and Pam are here. And our supervisor. Public input, anybody can talk for 3 minutes about any items within the committee jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Also, whenever you talk, we will probably not respond to you until we figure out what you're talking about until the next meeting. I kind of rearranged this a little bit. We'll get into anybody who got a comment.
I'm Cindy Storrs. I am new to Spring Valley. I live out on Tamarack next to the firehouse. Right next to where the firehouse was. And I have questions about the lake. And also I have some questions about soils. I have a whole swatch of dead soil in my backyard. And I'm just curious about someone I could chat with about that. What direction would you send me? And also, I'd like to know what's happening with the lake. So you don't have to answer that now. I'm just curious because we're lakefront.
Just to clarify, you moved from Spring Valley?
No, we're there. We bought.
Oh, you're in Spring Valley?
Yes.
Okay, and it's the lake in Spring Valley?
Yes.
You're talking about, clearly?
No.
Okay, just clarify.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Shannon Stillwell. I did. I just wanted to say that I've started a nonprofit organization called the Norfolk Fire Fund. Since the measure hadn't passed back in, I think it was 2018 now, we had the pandemic and everything, they kicked off the ground. So I wanted to put some flyers around. Thank you. I know that box is burning, right? Yeah. I wanted to pass some flyers around if you want to take them about what the Norfolk Fire Fund is. It's a 501c3, so it's a tax deductible donation by law. But I'm also looking for people to help coordinate it. So it's something that would go the entire North Shore District and help support Mike and the firefighters on safety equipment, vehicles, repairs, those types of things that are sort of like outside of the budget sometimes. So I'll just leave a stack here by Mike, and if anyone wants to pick them up, I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I think you have a little more time. Is that all you wanted to say?
Unless somebody has questions, there's a website on there. There's email, there's all kinds of contact information. You can also look it up on the nonprofit organization. So happy to answer any questions. I'll stay to the meeting. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Public comment? Good news? Bad news? Concern?
I have a concern. I don't know if this is in you guys' scope or not. My name is Shelley Silver. I live up on Living Way. We have some code enforcement issues that have pretty much blown out of control. It's been going on a couple of months now. And first, my neighbors and I first put a report in And now it went from people squatting on land with the motorhome cars or whatever to now the motorhome has been totally taken apart. And of course, trash has accumulated. There's a truck there now, it's full of trash in the back. So it went from people just staying there to now it's, they realize that nobody's going to do anything. And so it's been blown out of proportion.
It's an eyesore.
Well, it's gonna keep accumulating because they know nobody's gonna.
We have the same problem next door where we live.
We're on Market Square.
Have you, code enforcement?
I put 2 reports in. The first report that I made, someone called me and said that they were ticketed, that they went out there and spoke to them and told them they needed to be gone. A month later, they were still there. I made another report and then a phone call. No response to the report, no response to my phone, my message that I left. I know my neighbors have done the same thing.
After the meeting,
What they're saying now is that they don't have any money to take care of it. Well, now it's been months, and now it's going to take more money to get rid of the original problem that they had in the first place. The other problem I have is roaming dogs. One of my dogs had already been attacked, $3,000 worth of damage. Of course, the lady has no income to pay for the damages. We got attacked again on the other side of Ridgely Way by 2 dogs. I had scratches up and down my sides from the dogs. I was able to get my dogs up. And animal control now. Talk to the guy. Still he still hasn't put a fence up where there was no fence. So anybody going by there and the dogs around, I don't go under it. But he came down 4 days later to see if I was okay. His solution was to call him and to take a look. The recent one has been we have a dog that just roams the neighborhood. And it went after my dogs. Just recently, yesterday, went after neighbor's dogs. And I went down to talk to the guy who goes, "Oh, animal control has been out here twice." Like, too bad. They're not going to do anything. And I said, "Well, you need to keep the dog contained. I'm already going all the way down to the park to walk my dogs. But now I can't even get my dogs into the car without your dog being up here early in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, it's on my porch." And what happens is, of course, now it escalates. I go down and talk to the guy, and he's verbally abusing me. He's yelling and screaming racial slurs because he knows my son's half black. And political stuff, and I'm just like, where's all this coming from? So instead of getting the problem taken care of, it's now escalated again to where he thinks that he can verbally abuse me. So that's what I got.
I had a question. Who said we were out of money?
Well, I talked to my neighbors and they spoke to somebody and said for like the code enforcement stuff, the trash. Yeah.
Hold on one minute.
I don't know where they got that. When it comes to like cleaning up, is that what you're saying? Or like trailers or?
Getting it, the area cleaned up.
No, if it was, we should talk afterwards. Okay. That way because I can get some information from you. And I think that, where's this at? Right here in Clear Lake? It's
in Spring Valley.
Okay.
Tony, do you know if Frankie still has the Davis order?
It's not. How's it getting thin?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, is he on some kind of probation or whatever? Because the verbally assaulting me and
Frank?
Yes, it is. Of course it is. Of course it's Frankie.
Hey.
I'll talk to you.
Okay, that's fine.
So I have a question. I couldn't get a copy of the agenda because it was too small. So I was under the impression that some of the things on the agenda were about code enforcement and the police, et cetera, on this meeting. I can attest to everything that Shelley says because we've undergone the same thing. Code enforcement was the person who told us they had no more funding. And this was just last week. And they said that they had to wait till July until they got a grant. It's really bad now. Yesterday, the one place she's talking about, this is just one spot. The one place she was talking about, there was another vehicle. There are about 8 vehicles that are associated with it. I think the code enforcement, the license plate numbers and everything there. Yesterday, there was a new car there and it was putting more dump stuff into this, area, which is really bad. And then you can have the other end of Wigan Way on the corner of Lakeview, and I don't know what's going on there. I mean, these guys are out of control. They're criminals, they're thugs. I don't even know that you can get a fire engine, back there. And everybody knows it's a problem. It was red tagged 2 years ago. And, they said that they have a place that's hauling garbage out, but nothing goes away. So anyway, I'm just saying this because I thought this meeting was going to be about code enforcement and the police and what could be done. And so if that's not what the case is, then I just wanted to get this in, the public comment.
Is that on the line? We have to. Code enforcement.
Yeah, we don't have anybody here for code enforcement.
He was here last week and he's gonna be at the CSA. I'm gonna tie him into, for whatever reason, the CSA out of Spring Valley had asked him to come out and he called me. And so I'm gonna do the same deal with him out there tonight. That's at 7 at the community center at Spring Valley. That's for code enforcement. Andy will be on that.
Are you Zoom or is he gonna be there?
So zoom in, yeah.
Sorry, let him finish.
Yeah, in addition to what, my name's Chuck Rand, by the way. In addition to what Holly said about the problem with the vehicles on Ridgewood Way is the reporting process has been going on for like 3 months.
It's on Pine too.
Yeah.
And now it's gone over to the Keys. Now they're dumping garbage over in the Keys. I can't believe they used to be only on, but now it's just, these people just do it with impunity. I mean, it's like, it's a joke to them.
Yeah, we involved the sheriff's department, we involved the highway patrol, we involved code enforcement. We made multiple calls on this issue. And it's my hope that the county realizes that we've got a lot of great people here that want to do something to help our community.
This is what I've been saying all along.
That's all we want to do. And I think we also see that the agencies within the county are encouraging everybody to make comments, encouraging people to file complaints, whatever they may be. But in a lot of cases, you get no response or no reply back.
We know this real well. We've been doing this for 4 years.
But one other thing,
14 altogether.
One other thing too, one other issue, if you put this down, massive amount of trash on Such Road. Holly and I have photographed and GPS multiple locations of dumped trash and stubs. We were told by Angela and CBD to send a notification to EJ, I think EJ sent it to you, but also to Water Resources. Because this location is right next to a ravine that has running water whenever it rains. It doesn't rain. And this happened about 2 months ago. We've received no response from Water Resources. But it is a mess. I mean, there's garbage so you can't forget.
Is that the road above Red and White?
It's the one that goes way up the hill. It goes
Fire Road.
Real steep road going up.
Yeah. They had it all cleaned up. The last supervisor cleaned it all up, but everybody just went up and dumped up there 2 times, yeah. It's a big joke.
Where's this at?
It's
This is, you go up Plaza, up past where the church is, keep on going up the hill there. And it's about a quarter of the way up the hill there, there's a fire road that runs up there. And goes up the church, yeah, and I mean, we went through there, this was a year and a half ago, buddy of mine with the Jeep, to try to get somebody that was claiming that they were, cleaning trash out. We think they were dumping, but we took a Jeep up there and you could barely make it through there with the Jeep, everything was just garbage. It's horrible, again. I mean, if you saw it, you wouldn't believe that people would do that. But
I think the issue is that we can't do it. It's gonna take winches, when you have refrigerators down, ravines. We don't even know what's in some of the stuff. It's all poison out.
these people need to be prosecuted. They need to be held responsible. This one guy up in Lucerne, he actually had a heart attack. He got him 5 times. Well, they had a heart attack over garbage. So there is justice. But Jim, these guys took care of my first question. I wanted to say something that really starting to really concern me. We're 3 hours away from possible mayhem. It's our supply with food or anything else. We got a little taste of what socialism is like during COVID, okay? Now, the sheriff's department up here, they're doing a great job with what they have, but they don't have anywhere near enough. There's one deputy for 86 miles. So if you call them, what's your chance of that you getting a deputy? And if there's any serious problems, they're gonna go take care of their families, what they should. They should go defend their families first. My point is that with the political climate in this state and the way our political climate in Washington is there any possibility that we could declare ourselves a Second Amendment sanctuary county, like another county, I think it's Yolo did, to protect our Second Amendment, because we are on our own. Whatever we have at the time, if somebody comes, and these guys from downtown there are 3 hours away, real easy ride for them, okay? They can come up here and cause all kinds of mayhem, and these guys are gonna be so totally overwhelmed, there's gonna be nothing they can do, so it's gonna be on us and the people in our neighborhoods to take care of the older people, protect the looting and all the, so is there any possibility that we could possibly go forward and make ourselves?
About that, probably talk to the sheriff's office or somebody after the meeting and see what we can.
Because we're behind you guys all the way. We support you guys, we'll die for you, but we have to know that you back us up, because the way all you gotta do is turn on the TV, see the way things are going. Not the criminals they want to take care of, the people like us.
Yeah.
They want to disarm us.
Back to code enforcement, you call them, they won't return a call to you at all. No, you leave your number and everything, and it's too damn bad, we're not gonna bother.
That's the best.
Which department?
Huh?
You're talking about
What department you call?
That was my first.
I couldn't
Code
hear you.
enforcement.
Yeah.
Right, I have, when you guys, you want me to talk about that yet, or did you want to go on to the next thing? Because we have other people.
I'm really excited that there are so many people here, we're packing the room, and that everybody is feeling free to share their concerns or good news, whatever it is. I just want to make sure everybody gets their 3 minutes. It's probably a priority over, and of course, speakers. Win?
I just want to say, residents of Spring Valley have informed me if they call the sheriff department, they're told, if there's a murder, we'll come out.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Or it's too far to go.
That's something you're gonna have to take up with her. We have no jurisdiction on that. That's.
No, we're voicing it.
Yeah, I understand. That was a good time.
So just real briefly, when it comes to code enforcement, community development, I don't know if the other supervisors have talked to there's a person actually, he's actually assessing the department right now. We're looking for a new director and a restructure of the whole organization when it comes to that. And I gave a lot of what we're talking about because I get these calls. I explained that the system needs to be restructured. We need to get people that actually contact and give answers, because we need customer service. We need people that have answers or even updates, even if they don't have something that, I was giving that type of input to get to the assessor or whoever he is, he's a consultant that's supposed to help us recruit for a new director. And so that is something that I passed on. And so hopefully when this department gets restructured, because it's at like a boiling point now, hopefully this, we can start getting it in place so that they can start answering you and taking care of some of these issues.
Yeah, but we used to have it where the fire department went around and they would cite people on cutting their grass and everything. Now, my neighbor, I'm living next to a fire trap. His backyard, the side yard, it's 5 feet high, brush, dead. The fire department says they can't do nothing. The supervisor took that authority away from them. They should have that authority.
What happened, money?
Go ahead, let's get back
I
on
just want to
track.
make sure everybody gets their 3 minutes to express their concerns while we have sheriff here and supervisor here. And I don't want anybody to leave here. We don't want anybody to leave here that has not had a chance and came out in the evening on your own time to express these concerns. So this is the platform. Yes. You are.
I'm Twilight Beach Learner. I'm a resident here in Clear Lake, and I just want to know what is the sheriff's priorities, because when I call, they don't come. So I don't know if it's that someone's not being murdered or someone's not bleeding, and that's why they're not coming. I don't know, what will they respond for? What can they arrest people for? What are they giving people tickets for and telling them to show up in court for? What's going on?
We'll get into that when you talk.
Yeah, we're still in the 3 minute public comment section.
Kind of like where we're at with COVID in regards to that too. I like how they weren't keeping it contained.
Anybody else got anything that's not on the agenda already? Okay. Ma'am? You were next, you're the one.
Or so we don't have Melinda.
Melinda, nobody here from PG&E, right?
I haven't heard from
No, okay.
Okay, so we're striking that speaker then. So we were going to talk about Sulphur Bay Road, Cannabis Grow, and we have a couple of experts on that. Mike Herman has been sending quite a bit of information to the county. And your last letter went when?
Would you like me to talk that right now?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, on May 5th, I presented a bit of information that EJ got, and Victor Fernandez from the
Community development.
He responded to a portion of that, but he also brought up some new issues in his response that really opened up a can of worms, I think. And I got a couple of handy ones of the board, one to and kind of go through them, because this is a big thing. It became much bigger than it was at the last meeting with his responses.
For those of you who don't know and are obviously new here, this Cannabis Row is located on Sulphur Bank Road and also very close to the lake and close to residential properties.
Are you guys here? Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, any comment on it?
okay, what do we say for going? Yeah.
This is an agenda item, so we do have someone to do this.
So basically what, I listed a number of things in the county's own information that did not agree with each other. One of them was the differences between a commercial cannabis cultivation zone and a commercial cannabis cultivation area, which is defined in, I think it's Article 27. However, the exclusion zone is defined in everything else. So what he said was that if you look at the map, this first page of the map that I sent you guys, you can show mine if you'd like, has the layers that are on the GIS map for the cannabis exclusion zone. If you just check the one that says exclusion zone, you will get what's on the next page, which is basically, this is just the area for Clear Lake Oaks. And down as far as London. All of this red basically combines all the different categories. The area that we were talking about is in this kind of circle area the last time. which is in it. But in Article 27, where it defines the exclusion areas, it does not list any of the three categories of the water districts, where you have to say 1,000 feet buffer zone from public water district, private water district, and water district sphere of influence, which I have no idea what that one is. All these other items that are on here that are checked do show up. So if you go to the category, exclusion zone categories, and you check that box, what shows up is basically the same thing that shows up on the front. It's just in colors for the different types of categories. But it doesn't change the total area. However, if you uncheck the three categories, it changes it considerably. It takes those properties out of it. Now, when an average person goes to the GIS website, look for this, they're going to look under exclusion zone. They're not going to go in and uncheck categories. So in our case here, it makes a small difference. Okay, but it does make a difference on the 8 properties that were in question. Now, go to the next page, page 4, which is Spring Valley. This is where you might be interested. If you're just on the exclusion zone, pretty much all of Spring Valley is in the exclusion zone. Okay. You go to the category page, you leave the water district sections checked, and pretty much all of Spring Valley is still in the exclusion zone. You go to unclick the 3 water department categories, and almost none of Spring Valley is in the exclusion zone. Go to page 6. I didn't realize you can just make people there with run more copies. So if you take this throughout the entire county, if Article 27 is right, and the exclusion zones do not count water districts, you've opened up hundreds and hundreds of properties and thousands of acres to legal marijuana growing that I don't think people are aware of. And I think that's something the county needs to deal with. It has a huge liability problem.
So the gist of it is there's a lot of data, and there's a couple of, I think this was dated June 10th, correct? Like
Which was?
Your last correspondence to the county?
Yes.
Which has not been responded to. There's another resident which also sent on June 29th with quite a bit of information, again, not answered by the county. So the issue is with the county and the inconsistencies in their mapping and laws.
Are we talking about overviews or specific properties?
Well, we started with one
Bank?
particular property, which happened to turn into 8 properties.
Got it.
Because there were 7 more that had applied for early activation permits that were right around that property.
Okay.
And then based on what I got back from the county, saying that, okay, well, these don't exist, the zone, exclusion zone map isn't correct. You gotta take out all these things. Well, I opened up about a third of the counties, and it opened up about a third of the areas were in exclusion zone.
If you're talking about Spring Valley, I checked the computer, the county computer. Every single lot in Spring Valley is the residential code, even if it's 5 acres. Every lot has a residential code on it. The only part that's an open area is the 260 some acres that Lake County owns.
So the reason I'm saying I think the county has a huge liability problem is that this is the map that people can look at if they're going to buy a piece of property and find out somebody's going to be drawn next door to them. Okay, and it says they're not. Now then the county goes back, which turns in a permit for early activation. The county says, oh yeah, they can grow there. Now here you've got somebody that might have just bought a house thinking that nobody can grow there because county information says they can't. And then they find out that other county information says that they can. And I think you've got a huge liability from both sides. Not only from the home buyer or the person who's in it, but also from the guy who thinks he's growing legitimately. And then finds out that the county's information doesn't agree with it. So it's a mess. It needs to be fixed now.
The Sulphur Bank cannabis grow is legally permitted, unfortunately.
Early activation.
We were deep diving at CBD in the county, and a very helpful person researched the whole thing because we were complaining a lot as well. And she came back, sorry, it was legally permitted.
No, the sheriff told me that it was a legal permit, and then I went back and asked if it was ever publicly noticed, and nobody ever answered.
I believe it's
We're not
early
getting those
activation
answers
that
on that.
allows them to grow. but it's not been through the planning department.
That's, yeah, they said it was legal. That's what the sheriff's department said in the email.
Right, is this something that's gotta be taken up with the county and the planning?
This is something that needs to be taken up with EJ to get this straightened out, because he's already doing it.
Right, so what is it?
I would be happy to sit down with you separately or with you and Victor.
I want you to know that I did give it to Victor.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna like.
But I know he got it,
Yeah.
because I got an email, or return email from him saying that due to cannabis, things are running behind, so I know he got it.
Right, and so he's gonna answer you and Donna, he's working.
Well, he hasn't answered this in over a month.
I understand. There's 300 applications. They don't have a director anymore. I'm not making excuses. It just is what it is.
Do you realize?
I've been sending it to them and telling them over and over again to a point where they don't even want to talk to me.
Well, you realize that in about 2.5 months, all these early activation permits are gonna be harvested, and they're gonna need the damn thing.
Sooner than that.
Well, maybe sooner than that.
They're
So,
doing, a lot of them are doing 90-day grows. They're ready right now.
so the early activation is
Sooner.
So, you want to talk about planning more detail?
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall, you had invited, I believe, the,
Yes. He came-
anyone who's
Yes.
associated with the roads.
With the
Did you-
sulfur bank.
Did you
or
want
sulfur-
them to, at this time,
Yeah.
make a statement?
Hi there, my name is Tony Lamprey. I grew up here my whole life. Dennis Booth, who owns Sulphur Bank, property that you're talking about, the Homestead Ranch, adopted me as a young boy. And I would have loved to bring Clear Lake Oaks back to the way it was when I grew up here, instead of all this stuff that you hear. And when I first got into it with the COBA, I traveled around the world and watched these two guys race bicycles, and you always pretend if I was stuck in this little village, how would you make money? Well, I would get that little coffee cart. When we were stuck up here during COBA, somebody brought up, well, Lake County's having cannabis. I started researching it, went through all kinds of different people. I brought an amazing tenant up here that's out of Sonoma County, and he does everything by the book. It's no joke. He does everything by the book. You guys, the last meeting I came to, there was nobody here or what have you, except for the code enforcement guy. He says, when can I come out and look? I said, you can come out and look anytime you want. I'll give my cell phone number to everybody. There's no guns there. Every single plant is marked and with a little, I don't understand it. I've never sold anything like that in my life. I'm a landlord. I lease property, but they've all got little codes on them. It's legit. It's not a joke. There's not one gun there. There's not big crazy dogs there. My father won't allow dogs on the range.
Tony, I'm not saying you're doing anything illegal. What I'm saying is that the county's own rules don't agree.
Yes, sir, no, I know.
And that's like, I agree. One place that says you're grow up, you can grow your product legal, and somewhere else says you can't. And that's my issue is the county needs to get their shit together.
So for me to get my wife to agree to this, when I've got two children that represent the United States of America and travel around the world, and all of a sudden she thinks we're gonna become a drug dealer, it was harder to convince her than my father. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not a joke, and they cross every T and dot every I. If people would not allow the illegal grows and help support Lake County, I probably should shut my mouth, but I see somebody in here that's gonna hand Lake County millions of dollars this year. Millions. Lake County, then we can have good cops. We can have the Oaks Corral again. We can have Nylanders again. We can have a parade here again. Clock time, right? No, clock time can open again, right? I mean, I'll grow up here the rest of my life. I've grown up here my whole life.
Bottom line is if we own somebody else will.
Pardon me?
If we own somebody else will.
Well, it's not illegal, you know.
Yeah, it's not.
Counties have to make arrangements.
But I think the issue we can discuss
No,
this
but
for hours, but the thing of it is that there's something that's gotta be taken care of with the county.
Oh, yes, sir. No.
I'm sure you would like to shut the
But and I don't have the other side here to debate him either. So I mean, not debate, but just kind of give their input. I just have him telling me his perspective, and it's very convincing. And I've read some of it, but at the same time, I need to have both at the same, together. So I would like to meet with you, Victor, and even the other gentleman that's assessing our department. Maybe you can give some insight.
The complaints came from Clear Lake. the complaints were coming from the Clear Lake Oaks Club, nobody, individual. If it's somebody individual, I'd love to talk to them. I'm not super educated on it, but I'll get somebody in touch with them that is educated on it. But the Keys Club, I let the Keys Club at the Orchard Shores Marina, I grew up there my whole life. I got a chance to buy that 15 years ago. And I allow the Keys Club to put their boat in there for free. I allow the Keys to store all their stuff there for free.
I think you're referring to the Clear Lake Oaks Keys Property Owners Association?
Yes, ma'am, I think so. Whoever has an old algae boat, it's the only place they can put it.
Club is a small entity, which is a private club.
Okay, I was just told that's where it was coming from.
829 properties are part of the POA in Clear Lake Oaks. The reason it's on the agenda, the reason why anything appears on the agenda is expressed concerns by the residents.
Correct.
So residents weren't happy with the location.
That's the big problem. The location stinks.
Because
right next to the lake.
Because they didn't, well, it looks like after that, again, I'm not gonna debate with everybody or whatever, but after they they code enforcement said, hey, put a big fence up across their green fence so you can't see it. They'll plant, this guy will do whatever you ask him to do. If you want olive trees across the front of the thing, he can. And after that stuff is there for about 3 weeks, it looks like a gosh darn strawberry farm. You know what I mean? It doesn't look any different than grapes.
I don't think that that's necessarily the issue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that everything that you folks did was correct.
Yeah.
Within the laws of the county. The whole issue is, as far as I'm concerned, it's right next to the lake. You're loading fertilizer, you're gonna have rainstorms. We already have an impaired lake. The lake is lousy shape. I mean, have you seen the algae blooms?
I grew up here, sir, my whole life. I know exactly.
And, you know, projects like this just creates more of a problem. It's not the issue that it's illegal or I'm sure you've done everything right. In our opinion, the county should never have approved it based on.
Where I reside now is in Sebastopol, California, and my wife is about as great as you get. These guys are exactly the same. They don't pour fertilizer all over. It's all organic. They drip stuff onto each little plant. I mean, and then it turns into big plants. Nothing goes into the lake. Nothing goes into it. Not a drop goes into the lake. Not a drop.
There was a grow there last year, and it was significantly smaller than this. And there's a noise, I guess, from fans, generators, something. And it echoes across that bay of the lake. It amplifies the sound. Neighbors are not going to be happy if they hear that again. There was a smell, horrible smell last year from there.
Yeah.
And that probably won't be an issue now because the lake smells terrible. But we don't need that.
Or the sewer plant, right? I live there.
But now we
I
have
live there.
the skunk farm on top of sewer plant. So those are the issues from the residents as to why it's a topic.
I have a question. Yes, don't mind. We have a copy of the laws about marijuana. And they're all being broken. Every last one of them, they're broken. And nothing is being done about it. Nothing whatsoever, so we don't know what to tell you. Or it's too far to go, or we're busy right now, call us later. Later doesn't happen, it never does.
What the rules say is no grow within 100 feet of the tributary.
And we live on a tributary.
I understand.
We have an acre that just got fenced in.
Being fenced in right now, it's gonna turn into a grow. Which one? Down right next behind my house.
Oh, that one?
Yep.
Straight out.
New one.
Straight out, yes,
Riverview.
I got 5 grows right in my house. 2 narrow.
it's actually on the drum.
I got 5 of them around my house.
Yeah, I'm down.
Believe me and Rick talk like weekly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I answered him this week because we'd be more angry right now.
Apparently I do too.
But no, it's legitimate, it's
A
legitimate.
lot of the problems is the aggressiveness coming from them.
We get threatened all the time from the neighbors, it's a constant thing, and I've had a hard time holding my mud. I'm falling one more time, I don't see the street. But I'm getting to the point, I ain't gonna take this shit no more. All right.
Okay. Anything else on that? For now, until Mike, you know, work on that.
You have a lot of topics after.
Yeah, I have 3 towns with just the same issues, you know. Just like when I get a couple towed in Nice and they pop up in Clear Lake Oaks.
All right.
Revolving door.
Clear Lake Oaks public launch.
On a different subject, during the Catfish Derby, which was a huge success this year, even in spite of COVID and following all proper COVID restrictions, that's put on by the Clear Lake Oaks Glenhaven Business Association. And we were worried relaunching it after it was canceled last year that it wasn't going to be a success, but it was. We used the public launch during that time, where we normally would use the fire station. But due to low water, lack of water, we had to use public launch. During that time, we noted that the public launch needs some repairs and improvement. So I had brought that up with Park and Rec, and I've been talking to them about it. Some simple things that you'll probably take care of now. Down the road, we'd really like to see it in the master plan and not see it widened to a 2-lane. There's room there to do it. I had hoped it might be something in the works during low water as it is now. So that's going to stay on our agenda for a while as we follow that, because public access is incredibly important, and anything we can do to provide that to all the residents and visitors, that we want to keep that maintained. So that's a little synopsis, not to take too much time on it. That'll probably be on our agenda for a while.
That's the move on all that one.
The public launch.
Okay. We have a representative here from the sheriff's office, so I think he's been taking in most of it already.
My name's Corey College. I'm a lieutenant with the sheriff's office. I've been here 25 years. I used to work in Clear Lake Oaks 25 years ago is where I started. I've worked most of my patrol career here. So I hear your frustrations. I like working down here in the Oaks, and there's a lot of good people. That's why I like working down here. I wanted to let you know regarding the garbage thing, I just got a call this morning from Public Services. They said they have a grant for dealing with the garbage dumping issues, and they were asking us for locations for where to go clean up garbage. So I can get with some of you or leave some information. Public Services is looking for that information.
We have lots.
So if you want to get those to whoever, to EJ, and they'll get them to Public Services. So they have the money now. It's July 1st. So apparently that's when that grant.
What size is that grant?
I don't, they didn't say. They're gonna need a lot, I imagine.
Large.
No, Sarah, Public Services.
Yeah, right.
And so we're also giving them information from what we put out to our patrol guys, when they're in patrol and they see these dumping sites, to forward that information to them so that they can be aware of it and hopefully clean it up. Can't promise you it's gonna stay that way. As you guys know, it's kind of a recurring thing in some of these places, they're dumping sites. That's unfortunately the way it is.
You said it was Public Works.
Services.
Public Services. Yeah, okay.
Is there a way to go after the property owners that are consistently allowing this to happen?
That's one of the things that I've been working on. So for example, in Lucerne on First Avenue, and there's that hotel, the owner had just bought it under, what do you call that? The tax default sale. And so right when we were able to kind of get that going, he didn't even know what he bought. So I got in touch with him, took pictures, showed him. He came up a month later, and it took a long time. It was like 6 or 7 months. There was a lady living in front of it and things like that.
Yeah.
So when she got up there, when he got up there, he cleaned it up, and now it's for sale, and it hasn't been used again. Those are the type of things we're trying to implement now. There's also, when I make the reports, because I'll get a report like in some instances, and I'll make an online report, print off the note, and then send the email with pictures to community development or code enforcement. And I also, there's another thing that I do. I try to put the APN number so that way they know that the person that lives there, so they can notify them. That way that person can be held responsible. We need responsible owners. That's the issue.
I know that the county did go after, the person that owned there's like 3 parcels on Stubbs. This was several years ago, and the lawyers came back and said that they were gonna sue the county about it because whoever was dumping had to be on county property in order for them to get.
I want to respond, the illegal marijuana stuff, obviously it's a problem throughout the county that we deal with all the time. And not to make excuses, but obviously staffing is always an issue. We're doing it on a limited basis with a couple guys. We're handling the marijuana, and as you can attest to just in this area, how much there is, it's like that all over the county. So 2 people doing the best they can on a limited basis is about all we can do right now with our staffing issues. We pull a lot of people back to our patrol, have these complaints about not responding to certain calls that we're trying to deal with also, but.
Yeah, I have a question. You guys brought out of town help, not last year, but the year before last, to raid some of these. How come you can't do that again?
So that happens every year through our grant that we have that handles the marijuana suppression. That's, we work with what's called CAMP, that's the state. So every year they come in to various counties and we have a certain, it comes in at a certain amount of time. So at some point this year, we're hoping that will happen again. But again, it's a limited amount of time and can't hit them all. Wish we could, I wish I had the, but.
Well, I've been putting up 14 years around my house, and I'm just tired of it.
And I hear you. I've seen it everywhere, I understand, and I wish we could fix every problem.
Yeah. After this meeting's over, I would like to talk to you.
I'll be. You're not responding to calls. It's hard for me to answer that question without knowing every particular situation because everything is different, every day is different. So I can't answer that question, but I do know part of our staffing issues, what we're doing is for certain calls that don't have suspect information or evidence of, say, someone stole your bike off your porch or a burglar with no suspect information, we refer those to our online reporting. That just helps our deputies go respond to the calls where people are being assaulted and those types of situations. So I know that we are doing that. I don't know if those are kind of calls that I heard complaints about not responding to certain calls. I'd love to hear the situation and try to explain them more. If I can hear some more of the details, it would be easier for me to answer those questions. I did want to mention Zone Haven. I don't know how many have heard about Zone Haven yet. We're really pushing it out there. If you haven't, you really need to get on our website, the lakesheriff.com website, to learn about it. It's about knowing your zone. So the county has been divided up into areas, sectors, zones, the whole county from top to bottom, east, west, or south. And when we put out our notices for evacuations or warnings, or there's something going on in your area, you need to stay inside, shelter in place. Instead of trying to explain by using roads or landmarks, because not everybody knows those, we're going to use zone numbers. So you really need to know your zone numbers, what you really need to know. Because when it comes out of, say, zone 3, it's under evacuation order. And if you know you live in zone 3, you'll know what pertains to you. And there's a link on our website. You can go, it goes to the community zone Haven. You can put in your address. You can find out what your zone that you live in. And that's, or if you care about someone else and they live in a different area, you can know those zones that are important to you. So when you see those come out to our Lakeville alerts or Nixles, you'll know that it's pertaining to you. You don't have to try and call and figure out, is this me or is this not me? So.
Looking for both, but EJ, is this something, I mean, there's so much stuff and we've always been really busy, so we can't go to a lot of different things. I try to see what's on Lakeville News or in the newspaper. There's huge gaps. I know for a year we weren't getting any Nixle alerts, and I don't know why that happened. But is there any way that some of this stuff that's very, very important, what you're talking about, the zone, that's critical, but other things too, that this could be put in a letter that goes out to all the tax things, which are going to come out in October, et cetera. But it would be, if something could be put together and put in that and go to all the residents so that they have a chance of knowing about this. I mean, I know like 10 years ago when we had the task force here, which was the combination with code enforcement, and it was also the sheriff's department and community development. It was really, really great. We put out that pamphlet that was mailed to every single resident. It was put in every resident's, mailbox, et cetera. And I'd love to see, something like we had with the task force that we had years ago come back again. It was great.
from our side, follow our Facebook page. We put out a lot of stuff for social media that way. We have a YouTube channel where we just had a presentation that the sheriff did. A couple of our lieutenants explained Zone Haven. There was some Zone Haven folks on there. So please pass on. It's what you need to know. I mean, if it happened today, that's what we've been using to put out those notifications. So the more we can spread the word, the better. Regarding that, it's really important.
What I had heard, now this is lakesheriff.com, right? So everybody knows where to go, lakesheriff.com. I heard that over the past couple of years between Nixle and Everbridge, some of the software changes might have dropped people. So whenever we have meetings in our neighborhood, our general meetings, I encourage everybody to re-sign up, recheck that they're definitely on the new one. If you go to their sheriff, sorry, my tiny phone, it's sign up for Lake Co Alerts. That's where you need to go. And then the new one he's talking about Know Your Zone. It's a whole new thing on there too. So lakesheriff.com, don't take it for granted that if you signed up a while back, you're still on that Lake Co Alerts. So
regarding the Nixles, I can explain that also. We went through a change where it was more of the cell phone providers started charging Everbridge, which is the group we work with, those local alerts. Their costs increased for those nixels going out, all the text messaging. And so they got to the point where when we were putting out so much messaging from Nixel that they were actually losing money, which they're a for-profit company. So they contacted us and asked us to try and reduce the amount only for emergencies. And that's what we're going back to, only putting out information on actual emergencies that were occurring. And we're still doing that, but Nixel should always go out with anything that we're putting out. We've received money from the board, approved additional funding so we can support that. And it does cost more, but we felt, and the board felt it was important for the public because everybody's become accustomed to Nixel. We use Lake Alerts, but it's also connected with Nixel. So we tried to start just using primarily Lake Alerts, but we're back to using Nixel also. But I would ask everyone to sign up for Lake Alerts because that's a platform we use a lot of. And there's a box to check for Nixel, so if someone forgets, they may not go out for Nixel also. Don't just rely on Nixel. Sign up for both. You'll get 2 alerts. I get 2 alerts every time we put out something. You can sign up for both. But that's what happens.
Go ahead.
You were saying about the Lake County alert stuff. Is there any way that we can really find out? I'm not that good on a computer. And it's like, go here, go there. But I would like something that would really say,
more details.
More details.
So you're not on a computer, you're saying?
She's not computer literate.
Yeah.
I understand that. So I don't know if the local libraries would have access of our office. I don't know how often you're in Lakeport. I know it's a long ways for people who live down this end of the lake.
But what about this end of the lake? I mean, you have I get the thing for Lakeport. There's a road closure.
Oh, you're talking about the alerts themselves?
I guess so.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure you're signed up.
About the alert they sent out on the phone and the radio.
I'm not getting anything on the phone.
Okay, like she said, you might want to go back on our website and sign up again, or do you have a cell phone that you use?
I do.
So if you text 888, so 888-777, if you text that number and then put in your zip code or the zip code you want to receive alerts about, you should start receiving Nixels. That's the Nixel sign up, and that's as easy it is just to text that number and put in your zip code.
Didn't they just change that last year? I think they switched the alert thing to a different site or a different thing on your phone. I know I had to change mine.
I don't know if it's talking about Lake Alerts or not, but
yeah,
Nixel, that's how you sign up for Nixel.
Yeah, there were some changes.
You'll get alerts through Nixel that way.
One thing that's nice about Clear Lake Oaks is everybody goes to the post office because a lot of people, don't get mail at home. I mean, if you could come out with something, we post things on the bulletin board. We have the locked box there to keep stuff. If we could get stuff, then we will post it all the time. People do go by and read that, and that's the perfect thing. Save the zone.
And I like the idea too about mailing it with the tax bill. I'll talk to the tax collector, see if we can work something out. Because there's just no way to expect everybody to get on the computer or calls or whatever the case may be with the population. You know, some people just don't. My mom's not on it, you know.
Yeah, there are many people out there like, oh, they're gonna be answering machines or, you know.
Still have anything. As far as the more questions, sure, we have a lady from PGA who could talk because they're kind of on the run here. Would you like to, is he still here?
I am not sure. He's assigned to the, what's called the broiler fire now over in the valley. So,
I didn't mean to stop everything. They're on
that's okay, but I can stay.
you want to give a short?
Yes, I can. Is that
all right with you?
Yeah, if you're ready.
Yeah, of course. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, members of the board, supervisor. My name is Melinda Rivera. I work for PG&E. I work in local government affairs in Lake County and Sonoma County. So Jim and Mr. Burton invited me to just give a brief update about public safety power shutoff plans for this year from PG&E. So I didn't expect so many people to be here this evening, so this is great. And let me just go ahead, where this is going to be a little bit low tech. So I'm going to pass around. You can imagine that we're going to just PowerPoint you. This is your copy. This got the sharp staple. But I'll just very quickly pass around a few of these. I don't know that I have enough. So if you could maybe try to share with someone you like or a new friend. You're my new friend. Okay, I'm just gonna just pass it around. Okay. So,
No, unless there's an next one.
and if I also have some other, hopefully they're not landfill items, but I'll give these out as we do the presentation. So, my colleague did not leave yet for broiler fire. Not leave, it's called broiler fire. This is my colleague Jonathan Lee. He actually has to go to cover the fire in Mendocino County on behalf of PG&E. He is our senior public safety specialist. He headed up the firefighting division for U.S. Forest Service for Mendocino National Forest for 20 years.
So I'm Jonathan Lee. I've been here with the company 1 year, started as of last week. After 22 years with the U.S. Forest Service, worked in Upper Lake and Stony Ford, and finished as the deputy fire chief on the Mendocino National Forest. And so now I'm public safety for PG&E. Worked with County OES, Sheriff Martin. And then also respond to any wildland fires or all risk incidents involving keeping assets and infrastructure. And so the broiler fire, it's actually in Mendocino County right now. They got a good stop on forward progress, but I got to go to some distribution and transmission lines that were impacted, but I'll go ahead and cover these slides and then field any questions you guys might have on the 3 pages or the 3 items that I'm going to cover. And then I'll slip out and let my counterpart Linda cover it. But my primary role is to be that single point of contact agency rep between all emergency services, so law enforcement, fire, and then operations of emergency services.
Does this mean we're gonna have outages again?
Yeah.
So we should all get electric cars, right?
Yeah.
We can plug them in at night, right? Crash the grid. That will.
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about the grid. Really, they hired me based on my fire experience to help kind of address some of the issues that PG&E has found themselves having to deal with in the last couple of years. So I'm still learning about the grid and gas and all that stuff, but I can answer quite a few questions about PSPS, microgrids, and what constitutes PSPS. So I'll share some of that information with you now. But on this first page, this first slide you see right here, it says wildfire risks across PG&E service territory or area. So basically, the California Public Utilities Commission gave PG&E a map that the Forest Service and CAL FIRE and CPUC work together on creating, and it basically determined all the areas that are considered high fire threat districts. And as you see on this map, Lake County, almost the entire area is considered high fire threat district. And so I think it's probably 90-some% of the area. And that's the area that we have to de-energize when we reach a certain threshold of wind, fuel moistures, and all those red flag warnings and those things that would constitute high fire potential and high fire consequence. So that map you see here for Lake County, we have a total of almost 38,000 customers. Now of those 38,000 customers, a little over 15, almost 16,000 reside in a high fire threat district. And then you see the same numbers for the distribution line miles and then in high fire threat districts and transmission. So the struggle is, and I'll just touch on this while we're here, like you may reside in an area that's not considered high fire threat district, but with Lake County, all transmission lines that feed into Lake County pass through miles and miles of high fire threat district. And so when the meteorologists, our meteorologists, which they got the best modeling, I guess, available, determined that these out producing winds are gonna pass over those transmission lines and or distribution lines. And we have those critically low fuel moistures and basically a recipe for catastrophic fire. Then we have to de-energize everything in those areas. So the transmission lines feeding into Lake County, which is what you experienced in 2019, were all within that scope. So they had to basically, and I didn't work for the company then, but they basically had to de-energize all of Lake County. And so they've done a few things to kind of combat that and try to avoid that ever happening again. But that was a transmission level event. So any questions on the high fire threat district map before I go on to the next?
I have a question. I thought our good President Biden was gonna take care of it with all this. Oh, damn, literally he is. But you know what I mean? He's gonna give.
I didn't come up here for politics.
No, but it's not. It's not. He was supposed to take care of us on the fire thing, wasn't he?
Everything, all that's above.
I'm just saying, he was supposed to take care of us on the fire
Let's
thing.
leave politics out of this. Yeah.
No.
All right, let me finish up.
So on the next slide here, what is a public safety power shutoff? So I already started to touch on it, but basically high winds, it used to be, I think, 35-mile-an-hour winds. Now it's a 25-mile-an-hour threshold. And then combined with the fuel moistures, well, that's more in the next one. But basically, when you have all those conditions in alignment, it's a last ditch effort to prevent a large catastrophic fire. So
what are our chances of that this year?
So I'm not a meteorologist, but our meteorologists say that over the 10-year span, that what was it? 2.7 or something is the average per year. Last year we had quite a few, and the year before you experienced quite a few. So maybe this year we'll get lucky and not have any, or maybe not. Right now, the way the fire season's lining up with the lack of moisture that we've received over the last year, the conditions, we're already in like September fire conditions right now. So if we start experiencing winds this year, which is, my ability to predict, then we're going to experience. And the other thing that they're factoring in this year, based on the recommendation of the CPUC, is tree strike. So in areas that they do this LiDAR, high definition camera, infrared imagery, or whatever it is, but wherever trees are in striking distance of the power lines, if the winds are predicted in those areas, then that can also cause a PSPS. So it's not going to make the events much larger, but I think what it might do is create more frequent small events. But the meteorologist, when I'm asking the same question you're asking, he says, we might have a couple of years where we don't have any PSPSs, and we might have, one, because they did the 10 or 11 year look back, and based on all the criteria that they're following now, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we wouldn't have had any. So it's based on that, all that.
Are they getting better on, I know they've done a lot of work on the lines and a lot of work on the trees and stuff, but they're getting a lot better at isolating instead of shutting down the whole county, isolating like part of the lake and leaving the other part up. And is that
So there's a number of things that they're doing. One, they improve the meteorology modeling. So before, it was kind of widespread, like it's gonna blow everywhere. And it was, they hadn't really done any PSPS before, and in my opinion, didn't really know exactly the best way to do it. They learned from 2019, they got way better modeling, using European models, Canadian models, United States models. And so now they're able to narrow down where the winds are gonna occur. So it may not cut off the whole county, but also we're doing some things like sectionalizing devices so that we can stop the power right here and still keep it on in the areas that are either non-fire, high fire threat district, or areas that are not going to experience the winds. So they're doing those things. They've been doing some undergrounding. We have 3 substation level microgrids, so that even if we do get cut off all the transmission feeding into Lake County, we can still energize those substation microgrids that would feed like the main parts of the community with backup generation that we have stored. And just so you know, I think there's 11 transmission level or substation level microgrids in the whole PG&E territory that they're staging generation at, and 3 of those are in Lake County. And that's basically Lakeport, Kelseyville, and then like Mount area. So I think they realized how bad it was in 2019. So across the whole territory, they gave almost 30% of their pre-stage generation to Lake County.
I believe it was last year over at our, I guess they're calling it substation over here in Curly Oaks on Highway 20. There were large generators there. They're no longer there.
And so we have 4 distribution level microgrids in Lake County as well. And I think that's more than any other county also, but.
Why would you take the generators out just in case the power fails?
That's not the plan. The plan is to have pre-stage generation at those. So I don't know about it being there yet, and it might just be because we're not in PSPS season.
Right, we won't have the diesel to run them anyway, get 5 more people.
Yeah, but what it is, out of, there's 4 distribution level microgrids, which will have pre-stage generation at them. There's one in Lucerne that's still being completed, built. And then there's the Clear Lake North and South, and there's one in Middletown. And the idea behind those, it's going to be a small, polygon of resources that they're going to energize, but it's supposed to target, school, hospital, jail, the gas stations, grocery store.
And not the community.
Some of those things.
Just the community, just what's wrong with the community? But
some part of the community will get energized. However, it's how much that stored energy can provide. So they have it's a giant,
It's a giant grid, I understand.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's a giant truck, battery or whatever. It's like a, big rig battery. Yeah. And so there's only a certain number of them available. PG&E's pretty much bought every single one that you can get. And so now they have that finite number, and those things can't energize the whole community. So they can only energize X amount of kilowatts. So then PG&E works with operations of emergency services, which is what I'll do, and we'll kind of help draw, what needs to be energized. So we work with the county emergency services, and then our engineers will go, then we draw a little line around what's going to be targeted.
I had a quick question. I have a couple trees that are growing to the PG&E wire.
Yep.
Do I call PG&E and will you guys come out and cut that?
Yeah, so if you call 1-800-PGE 5000.
It's on the very last slide. So turn your packet over, there's that phone number.
Okay.
Call them, and we actually, when people email at that email address, if it's from Lake County, I do get copied on a lot of
because
this.
It's kind of real bad. It looks like it's been there for a little while. So just call PG&E, you guys will come out and cut it?
Yeah, and PG&E's putting together an app right now that will be released here soon. It's going to be super easy where you can just take your phone, take a picture of it, and it marks the location, sends it to them, and then they send somebody out. And it should be released here.
Later this year or later this summer.
Yeah, sometime this year, but for now it's the 1-800-PGE.
So right now I can just go ahead and call it?
Yep. They give all the information, location, you might ask for a picture, and it sends somebody out.
Thank you.
So back to this slide, when all those conditions are in alignment, to prevent large fires, they de-energize with pre-stage resources, just like for fires and emergency incidents or a carnival fair or something like that. So that as soon as the all clear happens with the weather, they have all the resources to go out and inspect the lines. And instead of having to wait until they inspect the whole lines to energize, what we do now is step restoration. So we'll go from this device to this device, restore, this device to this device, restore. So not the whole county waiting to get turned on at once. They'll see it gradually, get turned on. So
Instead of having to fly it for 2 days before they.
yeah, exactly.
Energize.
They'll fly a section, energize. But they'll fly a section, energize that section, fly another section, energize that section, so on and so forth. And then the areas that have damage, those will have to be repaired before energizing. Next one is just the conditions that would lead to a PSPS event. So like the low humidity levels, like I mentioned, the forecast of winds above 20 miles an hour, gusts 30 to 40, red flag warnings, dry material.
What about leaking, transformers?
That wouldn't cause a PSPS event, but if you know of something like that, then.
There's one right up, away from me. It's leaking black fluid.
So that 1-800 BTG 5000 number would be a good one.
Like soon.
Yeah, like soon. But that wouldn't constitute a PSPS. The PSPS is the last resort, something PG&E definitely doesn't want to do. But considering the recent events with Paradise and Campfire and other things, I think that until they find a better solution, they're using PSPS and they're trying to create the best version of right that they can when using PSPS. So minimizing the impact on the customers by putting out CRCs, trying to make those areas of impact as small as possible, trying to expedite the re-energization process and trying to make it as least impactful as possible. But I know it sucks. And I'm not going to tell you that PG&E is doing a great job at it, but we're in the beginning and working with the county. We're doing everything we can to try to identify those areas of opportunity where we can improve.
Because I know you're on time, or you don't have to run. Didn't know if you were going to be covering those centers that PG&E has set up. Will you be able to cover
I can cover that.
Okay. That's something I'd like to see covered.
In the CRCs, so just before I bail out of here, I'll ask if anybody has a question for me, but I work again with county OES, in which will solicit feedback from the fire chiefs and or whoever other contacts they're making to identify all those different locations. So if there are potential locations that you see, because Spring Valley still doesn't have anything, Clear Lake Oaks doesn't really have anything real close, we channel those through OES.
Each year, our senior center is offered to house it there, and for some reason it doesn't occur. And if there certainly residents are impacted from the heat, if their air conditioning's not running, they can't charge anything, they should have bottled water there, all that should be set up. And each year it is set up.
So every year I work directly with, every year, I've only done it 1 year, but my 1 year, I'm working with county OES constantly, and I'm just asking, where do you want these? And then, I'm just a single point of contact with OES, so we have certain ones, we have like 12 or 14 or something identified.
Yeah, 14.
And it's not necessarily just us saying these ones, we throw like, hey, what do you think of these? And then county OES say, okay, what about here and here and here? And from last year to this year, we've doubled the number of them. Because 2019, it was kind of a newer thing. 2020, we had a few. And then after the 1025 event in October, we identified, oh, wow, there needs to be more of them. So we now have like 12 or 14 between the indoor.
There was 3 facilities that were willing to do it in 2019 and 2020. And it was before both of you were here. And each time the Clear Lake Oaks area fell through. So they didn't really have nowhere to go except for Clear Lake. And so that's unfortunate because Moose Lodge was ready, the church was ready, and the senior center was ready as well. So if we can ensure there's one.
As many locations as you can get, because the more options we have, like PG&E wants to have as many as we can out there so that we can target the areas that really need the support. But last year I was working with Dale trying to figure out what we could do around Spring Valley and Clear Lake Oaks, and we found like 1 or 2 places, but in the the wheelchair accessibility, ADA compliance, because it has to be a certain size, it can't be any dirt or gravel, otherwise PG&E gets in big trouble. So there's some of those things, but if you have locations, please channel them through, because I want to
Our
ask.
senior center should meet the ADA requirements.
We have, I think, 2 or 3 senior centers, don't we?
We have the Clear Lake, we have the Highlands Senior Center, we've got, I think that's the only senior center we have right now this side of the lake. But I'm certainly, if Supervisor Crandall wants to continue to forward on any suggestions, because especially for an outdoor site, right? Like some sites like
Upper Lake has an outdoor, yeah.
they, it takes a lot longer to do an indoor, but we can do a contract for an outdoor site, in a relatively short time frame, like still in time for this year. So definitely, if you guys have suggestions for additional locations, you want to have us work, and we have to pass it by county OES first and work with Donovan, but definitely, we're very open to that.
It only works if they've got generators set up on the building back in the break.
Yeah, we can.
It's
They can actually bring in.
And they actually have like.
So for an outdoor site, you don't need a generator for the stage, it's for an indoor site,
Right.
depending on what the agreements were.
So any questions, for me before I cut out on
I'll go through the
slides?
rest of the slides.
And then if you think of a question later too, you can get it to Melinda, and she can get it to me, and I can channel it back through to answer it, but,
Go ahead, buddy. No, we're fine, Jeff.
I wish I could come here and just give you a bunch of good news, but I think the more we can work together and help identify those opportunities to improve, the less impact.
Do you have a list of what we need to make a building? Old.
I live here.
But, what it takes to make the place.
The CRC.
Oh, so for a community resource center? Yeah, so this one's in January. Okay,
Well, thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Hopefully, if I see you next year, I have good news. Anybody want another one of these? Thank you very much. I'll set it here in case someone wants.
All right, so customer preparedness and resources, that's actually, no. Go back. How will customers be notified? So we're right here on the top of this page now. And this is a fairly self-explanatory slide, but it talks about how if the meteorologists that Donovan had talked about earlier, if they determine that there's going to be a public safety power shutoff event, for example, that would impact Spring Valley and parts of the hills leading up east from here, then basically the residents who are likely to be impacted by the PSPS event would get a notification. But what's really important is that people go in to the wildfire safety website and update your information. So we can't notify community members unless we have like a cell phone where we can send a text or an email address, where we can send emails, or a house line where we can call you and leave an automated phone message. So it's really important, if you want to get a text or an email or a phone call or all three, to actually go ahead and make sure that you go in where you find your account information. It's also where you would go to like handle your billing information online, but you can go just to make sure that we have your updated information. And then also on this slide, if you don't have a PG&E account, but you're still needing to know information about an address, like your child's daycare or your child's school or the place you work or my mom's house, I can go ahead and go to address alerts and I can enter my mom's address, for example, and I can get the notifications if her home is going to be impacted by a public safety power shutoff or my kid's school. So that's another way, if you're not a PGA account holder, to get those. And that's available as well. This next slide down at the bottom of the page, customer preparedness and resources. So basically, for those customers who have additional medical needs, and I'm hoping we get to a slide on that pretty soon here. This is something where we need customers, it's disability disaster access resources. So for customers who have asthma or who have a CPAP,
we really want them to fill out an application ahead of time so they can get some additional resources, they can get additional battery resources, and transportation vouchers, hotel vouchers. Below that, you'll see there are portable backup batteries for customers who are low income and who are on medical baseline and live in high fire threat areas. But again, we need people to go on, if by the time a PSPS event happens, it's too late. So like, I'm really encouraging people to apply now. This is the time where we want everybody to sign up for whatever they're eligible for. Over here on the right, it says Lake County community-based organizations. So these are the current partnerships that PG&E has in Lake County. But if you have suggestions or supervisor, if you know of another organization on the list or if it's not on the list, then just let me know and we'd be happy to take any suggestions.
For like batteries and stuff, things like that.
For assisting with batteries, but anybody else, like these are like Meals on Wheels programs, food bank programs. If you think there are other partnerships you should pursue. Okay, so here the next slide is the medical baseline slide. We're here on the top of page 4 where it says slide 8. So basically to apply for medical baseline, you see that link right up there at the top right-hand side, right-hand corner of this slide. Go to pge.com/medical baseline. So again, this is when we want people, if you feel you might qualify for medical baseline, this is when we really want people to go and apply for it. There is a list of some examples of qualifying conditions like asthma or using a CPAP, or if you have one of the portable hemodialysis machines. Most people go to a satellite center, but anyway, it's not a exhaustive list, it's not a complete list, so those are just examples. But if you don't qualify for medical baseline, but you still need some additional help, there's also a link right there at the bottom of that slide around for vulnerable customers. So I can see people are starting to get sleepy, I'm starting to lose me. All right, portable battery program, they're on the bottom. PG&E will distribute about 5,000 more portable batteries this year, so if you're interested, if you think you qualify, if you live in a low-income household in a high fire threat area, you have critical needs, please visit pgebatteryprogram.com. So I might cross the thing. I really want people to apply for these resources. I really want Lake County to do. Next page, generator rebate program. This is for customers who are in high fire threat areas who depend on a well water pump. So if you purchase a qualifying generator, there's a list on the website. From January 1st of this year through December 31st of this year, you can either get a $300 rebate or a $500 rebate, depending on if you're on the programs. And then down at the bottom, this last slide is just some additional websites. Again, if you want to sign up for your email or cell phone or calls, go to the upper right-hand corner, pge.com/my wildfire alerts. There's the address alerts, backup power. So these are all like just additional resources. And then, as Donovan mentioned, if you do see something strange, or if anything does not look safe or it looks scary, please call us, like right away, like that's, and it won't result in a public safety power shutoff event. It may result in an unplanned power outage while we fix it. But definitely want to hear sooner rather than later if there are any hazards.
I needed to get PG&E transferred into my name. Just call the number here?
Yes, go ahead and call the number and they should be able to help you get your account set up. Or if you just go to pge.com, there's a section to just say, I want to open an account.
I'm not so good with the computer, but I'm really good with the phone.
Go ahead and call, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Wow, okay. So, just let's talk about community resource centers.
Yeah.
Definitely explore some more options. And then Supervisor Kendall, if you have more questions for me later, you know.
Definitely, it's just mainly the Community Resource Center in Clear Lake Oaks, especially because they haven't had one and they've just kind of had to just piecemeal whatever and do what they could.
Yeah, well, let's see what we can do to find a site that meets the ADA requirements and
That's what I
definitely.
need to know what requirements are for it.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you and I'll.
Okay, you got my email. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for your time this evening. Oh, do you have a question? No. Oh, okay, wait. All right, thank you.
Keep it under 100, otherwise Corey will be out. Okay.
We're running low on time.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to exceed the 5:30. So I don't know if the supervisor, we could skip up to Supervisor Crandall if you want to add something.
So yeah, just in the discussions that we're having right now, especially when it comes to, I'll stand up because I know that they're talking in their ear. Especially with law enforcement, they've just recently, I want to say like last month or in April, beginning of April, code enforcement teamed up with some of the sheriff deputies. They've been attacking some of the situations. It hasn't gotten to everywhere, but it has. And I keep telling other folks that call me that it's like trying to build a sandcastle with dry sand because there's just more pop up. And so we're working on that. One of the other things that we're having issues with is, retaining and recruitment. We've talked about this before, but in the budget for this new year, we have a cannabis budget with some of the tax money that we're getting there. And I'm on the committee to adjust that and fix it. And one of the things that I did was I got it from a 7.5 to 12.5. It's not there yet. It'll be approved in September. And right now it's looking good. So that way they can have some more funding in that arena. And then, so with that, that's how I'm looking to help bolster that. And also hiring different folks, like, so for example, in community development, we're trying to get somebody in with the systems in place. Because right now, what I told the person that we talked with today, the assessor, the gentleman that's a consultant, is that right now we have, not only do we have a hostile work environment, we've had a new director for the past 3 years. We've had a skeleton crew of code enforcement. So when they pick up, they're not picking up the old stuff. And so some of the complaints that you've made or everyone else has made is getting left undone. And then people are calling and saying, yeah, I put this in a month ago. Then I come to them, they show me proof, and I'm like, wow, they did have it. What's going on? And so I'm trying to get that resolved now before we start with the new director, so he can put systems in place to ensure that if someone does leave and they decide I'm quitting, well, they know before they quit that they have to pass on whatever they're doing back to a supervisor or something like that. That hasn't been happening. And so all you're getting is just like a revolving door and things are left undone. And so these systems are all kind of broken down. And it's unfortunate. And that's why we have problems that we're going to have to work on, so hopefully in this next month, I think in August, we have those actual interviews for a community development director, so we can bolster that department and get it back to where it used to be. That's my goal. And if, it doesn't happen, then that's what happens. And then I lose, and that's just what it is. And so I'm doing what I can to get that done. And that's the best I can do, especially when it comes to these cars, things like that. I've been making complaints online as well. I send them in. They get done, they don't get done, and it's an unfortunate thing. Another aspect, I've been working with NICE, and this is going to go along the whole district, is I'm working with NICE on this ideal called flock safety. The sheriff's department already has something lined up like this, and they got their own grant for a while back. We had worked with this group in the neighborhood watch in Nice, and it's called flock safety. What it does is it has a camera that's real time. It dispatches to the dispatch right away. So if there's a bolo, or if there's a car that's stolen, or there's a license plate that's red, these cameras are supposed to do this. And I'm trying to get funding for it. I have a funding source possibly. And so if I can get these across the North Shore, wherever, and I can't know where the sheriff's doing theirs because, we don't want them to know where we're putting these cameras. And so if I can get some put there and choke some of these points that people are dumping and things like that, I'm hoping that works and helps with some of this, especially in the high dump areas. So with some of the areas you're talking about, I'd like to identify those. So maybe those could be some good spots, because I'm thinking that right now, the spots that I've already plotted out with the lady, I'm thinking they're going to correlate with already some of the things that are already going to be lined up. But, so I'll have some other areas, so we're gonna have to identify those, and I'd like any type of input on that, so. And so, yeah, that's what I have for now, yeah.
Well, in Iowa, we put up beer cans on certain roads. Yeah, beer cans, that way it's satellite control, and it can take their license plate, and it really does a real good job.
That's the same concept.
Two car feathering. That real quick.
Deer cans work.
Right them out of town on the rails.
But that's the same concept as flock safety, they're cameras.
Yeah, it's all satellite control.
It's the same thing, yeah, that way there's no, it doesn't.
We put up satellite controlled area and it deters them away.
That's the idea.
Supervisor Carroll, are you in agreement that we can adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, it's your meeting, I'm just here to.
Yeah, well,
You can also adjourn.
Our supervisor or the deputy, are you done?
You can also adjourn and kind of keep it open discussion,
Yeah.
that's what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll adjourn the meeting, but some people will leave and then you can talk to the.
Our next meeting is same location here, August the 4th, we're always the first Wednesday of every month at 4 o'clock. And Shannon was still in here. I think she has materials in that box, handouts, to please help herself. And handouts. Yes, the fire department, Norfolk fire department.
She's right over here, you need her?
Did she have handouts?
Is that that box of stuff she wants to hand?
I'll check.
All right.
Otherwise, we're officially adjourned. Doesn't mean you have to leave.
The camera ideal,
Yes.
the camera ideal too, we've been trying to find some good spots in Spring Valley. I really think this will make a difference. That's one of my. I would like to put it at your house.
All right, we can Spring Valley
Let me turn this off real quick. I don't know why this is going on.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe they numbered it up on stuff. They're figuring up the stuff to dump
In Spring Valley, on my road, it's everywhere. And what I found is that it's less than plants are good. Guys, I get up with a very nice picture. I love that.
Put that together. Who's gonna take
Steve Ball.
That place across from me, I've turned into a lot of more.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about today when I see it. It's like,
That one, you know, it was right there. I don't think have boards on it.
They brought them up because they know that someone's gonna do something. It's the same concept, but you say,
See that big bus or that old bus and you moved it up the column page and that's like go back and look back.
Betsy, do you have any questions, Betsy?
Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Betsy. Betsy, I know one thing, I need to make sure I have I need to have get a speaker so that way, a speaker and a microphone, so that way we can hear you for the next one, you and Donna, because I don't have one right yet, but I will when I get it for the next meeting. Because you could probably.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate being able to do this. You probably can't hear me. I don't think you can hear me, DJ.
Sorry.
I'll send you an email. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
I will send you an email. We'll talk. Okay. Thank you very much for doing this. Really, it's very much appreciated.
Okay.
No, don't worry.
We'll look out for the email and I'll be in touch with you.
Right.
That way we can make sure we have dialogue. I appreciate you being a part of it.
Oh, I'm trying to be a reporter, trying to help the community. Thanks a lot, EJ. We'll talk.
Okay, I'll close it out. Take care.
Well, you know, when you're inside, I'm sensitive. I don't hear